Good evening. I'm Mike Shore, President of the Board of Directors, and on behalf of the Board and the staff, I want to welcome you to the fiscal year 2023 annual meeting. I'm so happy to have you join us tonight from whatever part of the country you may be coming from. With our unusually warm weather, I'm so looking forward to this upcoming season. It's hard to believe that our first event is just 2 weeks away. So without any further ado, it is my pleasure that I call this meeting to order. And now, if Dan will join us.
Good evening.
Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Is the theater looking that green already?
Actually, it looks really, really nice. We've had the maintenance guys start this week. They're back cleaning up, and the front yard looks wonderful. They're working over the TLP gardens right now, and so a lot of stuff is happening down.
That's great.
This week.
Yeah, with this rain coming in, hopefully that'll start greening stuff up. And with the warmer temperatures, it's hard to believe it's going to be in the 60s.
Yeah, no kidding.
Then we'll get slammed.
Yeah. Well, Mike, over the past 63 years, Timberlake has been blessed with dreamers. From the first dreams when Timberlake was just a woods on a dark Carroll County street, to dreams when the theater rose like a phoenix from the ashes in 1974, to the dreams of those who guided TLP through one of the hardest economic times during the pandemic, to the daily dreams of thousands of actors, designers, and technicians, Timberlake Playhouse has grown and thrived for these so many years. At every juncture, dreamers stepped up and looked past what it was and saw what it could be. In a time when many theaters and arts organizations have closed their doors over lack of funds, lack of patrons, I would say lack of dreamers, Timberlake is flourishing. We sold over 3,200 tickets this past season. That's 80% of all available seats. We opened and closed the summer season, selling out for Grease and Jersey Boys. We sold over 1,600 subscriptions. And we produced a season that received critical acclaim. Total sales in our gift shop, concession stand, wine and beer bars were the highest they've ever been. And we completed a near $500,000 capital improvement project. By all accounts, 2023 was a success. Let's take a look back. Well, that was fun to take a look back. And I'll tell you, standing in the back of the theater night after night after night and watching it fill up like it did this past year was truly gratifying. And we thank all of our patrons so much that happened, and we're starting to come back to the theater in those pre-COVID numbers. I think the greatest success, however, is the work that our board and staff is doing to review and revise the present 3 to 5 year strategic plan. The governance committee has worked this past summer and fall to revise TLP's bylaws, and we have begun work on the remaining aspects of the plan. This plan will drive the efforts of the board, management, and staff of Timberlake Playhouse over the next few years and into the future. This plan will challenge us to strengthen our financial position, improve marketing strategies, increase our volunteer base, and continue to maintain the TLP campus. A look on page 3 of our annual report shows many of the specific accomplishments of this past year. We have finished the work to upgrade the lobby to a more professional-looking structure. We have upgraded the bathrooms, brought them to ADA code. Repairs were made in the theater to the Revolve, the electrical system, our low-voltage DMX system that runs the theater lighting, and the dressing rooms were given a complete refacing. Out back, we now have heat in all of the shops and the dining room so that work can continue throughout the winter. The rehearsal pavilion was completed, and all of the older and broken wooden walkways were replaced with concrete. The company bathhouse was completely gutted and rebuilt to ADA standards with an additional private bathroom with shower. We again ended the year with a search for a new artistic director. We spoke with several people who were interested in the job, but we were specifically looking for someone who had the energy, personality, and knowledge to take on this very difficult job. We were able to hire Tommy Ranieri, who worked for us as a director last summer. The comments from staff and company surrounding Tommy's work and working with Tommy were great, and Tommy hit the ground running in January and has already amassed quite a company for you to enjoy next summer. You'll get a chance to meet Tommy a little later tonight. I'm going to move on to page 2 of our annual report, which is the financial report. TLP has had to navigate 2 big challenges to our finances. One was the COVID shutdown. And even though we seem to be out of that, or so we believe, it still kind of looms in our background. During the pandemic, we had expenses, but our major source of income was just not available to us. When we were able to finally produce theater in 2021 and 2022, we did so in a limited way. Shortened production schedules, outdoor concerts, lack of certain programming like educational workshops and theater for youth productions. In 2023, we saw increases in patrons returning to the theater, but we're still working to make up for the 19, 20, 21, and 22 years. Our year-end financials look strong, but as I just said, we're still making up for the losses over those COVID years. Second, and we're all battling this, is the increase in production costs. With lumber costs rising, food costs up over 20%, labor costs all rising at record levels. TLP will continue to look at ways to cut overhead without sacrificing a quality product. 10 years ago, this board undertook a strategic process to look at how the board functioned. It came back with recommendations on how to make the theater grow. If you look at the chart on the bottom of the financial report, you see a visual of TLP's financial position over the past 10 years. Growth has more than tripled in both net and total assets. The 2 tables in the middle of the page, one shows this past year's it says FY22. Oh no, it does say 23. Well, I can't read without my glasses on. It's FY23 simplified statement of financial position. And you can see that our financial position is strong. we have risen to total liability or total net assets, total assets of $1.2 million. Content statement of activities shows our income and expense, and we compare that over the previous year, and we can see that our income is rising. Our expenses do, but not to the same rate. And you can see the change in net assets over 22 and 23. But in looking at the financial position, that's the look that really looks at strength of company, strength of corporation. And you can see that other than the blip in 2020, we were coming back in 21, and in 22 and 23, we continued that upward growth. With the kind of leadership that the TLP board has shown and the staff who stands ready to accomplish these tasks, we will continue to make Timberlake Playhouse a place where our patrons will want to come and enjoy great theater, relax with friends, and continue to support those efforts. And with this, let me turn it back to Mike.
Great report, Dan. I have to agree. It was so thrilling to see opening night of Grease to have a full house and literally almost standing room only. And that carried through the whole season. It just was overwhelming and really great to see people coming back to the theater.
Well, if you remember, when we used to budget, we would say, boy, if we can just make musicals at 80%, and if we can get our non-musicals and our smaller shows at 50%, that's a success. We had two 100% shows this year. We had an 87%, we had an 80%, and our smaller shows and our non-musicals both hit nearly 60% this year. That gave us a total of 80% sales in our seats, which was very gratifying and good to see.
Yeah. And it was great to have some of our alumni back. Matt and Cody were great to be back, and we had an awesome company that really it was amazing to see them grow throughout the summer as they fine-tuned their craft.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So at this time, I'd like to recognize our retiring board member, Nicole Shores. Nicole came on the board a few years ago and has served as our secretary for the past 2 or 3 years. And we appreciate her service. She has stepped away from the board for a while, and we would like to present her with this plaque. And so she will be getting that in the mail shortly. So again, thank you, Nicole, for all your work and your outstanding service to the board. And we appreciate all that you do and have done. We look forward to hopefully seeing you at the theater and helping out on some other special events as you are able to. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to William McNeil, who is our board secretary, and he will just fill you in on the election results.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone, this evening. My name is William McNeil. I'm the current board secretary for Timberlake Theater. I took over that position from Nicole when she retired. As Dan indicated, we were very productive this year. We did reenact new bylaws in January of 2024. With that, we resized the board to make it a little bit more manageable. There will now be 9 positions available for board of directors. We wanted to try to accommodate as many members of Timberlake, voting members of Timberlake, that we could in voting for new board members. So we expanded how we would vote for new board members. So this year we sent out emails to over 900 voting members so that we could get a better input from the voting members. And that was for the proposal of electing Laura Kashner and Brian Brinkmeyer to 3-year terms on the Timberlake board. Laura has previously served on the board. Brian has been the president of Friends of Timberlake Theater. So there are two outstanding individuals that was slated and voted on. The results were overwhelming. We had 225 votes for yes and only 1 vote for no. So based upon the election results, both Laura and Brian will now begin a 3-year term. There you go.
Great, thanks, William. And we welcome William and Brian to the board. They will be great assets, and they're ready to hit the ground running, I believe. So
I think you misspoke. You said welcome William and Brian.
Oh,
Laura.
Brian and Laura, I'm sorry. Missed my notes. So thanks, William, for the report. So the future looks very bright for the theater. I'm excited. I think people are ready to come back, and we hope to have 100% packed house this year. One of the things we did, or the staff did in February, was we recognized our volunteers. And it was the first time I think that we've done that in a long time. And we had an open house for the volunteers. And it was the first time we got to see our new theater doors that are finally put up and are very impressive. I think you'll be excited to see those. Yeah, there they are. They're beautiful. And it was amazing to see them finished and how it finished out the front lobby. We'd like to thank our volunteers wholeheartedly for all that they do, not just the Friends of TLP and their leadership, but then the volunteers that help usher, that help backstage, that help clean the grounds, cut down trees, trim up trees, just amazing. We the national average for volunteer hours per year is rated at $39 an hour, and there is no way we would be able to budget the amount of, with the number of volunteer hours that people put in, selling 50/50, ushering and everything else, that we could even accommodate that type of rate. So we look forward to offering more volunteer opportunities. If you're interested in volunteering, please call the office. We're always looking for ushers, people to help on the front of the house or special events and things like that. So if any further, I'll turn it over to Dan for his.
Yeah, you know, a few years ago, probably back in 18 or so, one of the things that volunteers would say to us is, you know, we want to do more than just usher. What other things are there to do? So we started making other opportunities that we hadn't even thought that volunteers would be excited about doing, like working in the costume shop. We had quite a few volunteers in the costume shop this last year. You know, one of the big helps has been building sets. We've had a couple of years where we had a hard time hiring enough carpenters, and getting that crew in to build sets really made a big difference. And I think we might be looking for our first show this year to build with volunteers. But yeah. And that volunteer night was certainly a lot of fun. It was great to see so many people come out, and just to come out and chat with each other, share a piece of pizza, and you know, chat about the theater. So
well, and it was great. A lot of them got to meet Tommy that night because he was in for auditions for our local auditions.
yeah.
And he'll fill you more in on those in a little bit. But yeah, it was great to get to finally meet him in person and welcome the volunteers and thank them for all that they do. So
Oh, very good. So, you know, Mike mentioned that the theater, or the future of the theater, looks bright. And so we want to talk a little bit about the future. And one of the first things is we have opened this theater earlier than ever. The earliest we usually open the theater, I think one year we did a last weekend in April for an event, but typically it's that first or second week of May. Well, we're starting March 23rd. And what do we have on March 23rd? Movie night, the Barbie movie. So get dressed in your pink and come on in. And we're having a TLP trivia night on the 6th of April. And then on the 13th, another movie night, but this night is a Frozen sing-along. So we're going to do the Frozen movie. That's the sing-along version. Kids, dress up in your Frozen outfits. We'll have some opportunities to get on stage and do a little Let It Go and enjoy the evening of a Disney movie. Then on the 20th, we're bringing back Casino Night, and we're doing it here at the theater. We'll have casino tables and casino games up in the back of the theater. We've got a Rat Pack concert that night also. You can come to the casino night, which includes the concert, or if you don't want to gamble, you can just come to the concert. We have Peter Oprinsky from Chicago, and he is one of the gentlemen that sings the national anthem for the White Sox. And he has a Rat Pack show that he's going to bring out that night. It's a one-man show, and we're looking forward to that on the 20th. Then on the 27th, a big fundraiser by a local band that is just taking the area by storm. Better late than never. They went down and performed in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and I understand we had 100 people follow them from up here to go down to Nashville. So here it's only 20 miles away. It's a little closer. So come on out, all the Better Late Than Never followers. That'll be on the 27th, and they're doing this as a fundraiser for Timberlake. Then a party we have been looking forward to. We looked at it for last year, but we're going to make it happen this year. It's a Kentucky Derby party on the night of the Kentucky Derby. So we'll have Kentucky Derby games. We'll have a bourbon tasting at the beginning of the evening. We'll have a barbecue supper, and then watch the running of the horses, running of the roses, I guess is what it's called, and enjoy some fun, I don't want to say betting, but maybe that's what it'll be. Then on the 11th is our Jimmy B. Jones weekend. That's a great Theater for Young Adults show. Most of the week is already sold out, but we have tickets left for the Saturday morning and the Saturday afternoon production. Then on the 18th, we're bringing back the Four C Notes. They were back here in 2017, I believe it was. And it's nice because we have confirmed that John Michael, I can't think of his last name, John Michael will be here. John Michael was the director of Jersey Boys, and he originated this group, the Four C Notes. He will be here singing with them that night, and that's on May 18th, so you don't want to miss that. Then on the 25th, we're going to expand our TLP. We used to have a day where we could come out and walk around TLP and see what was going on out here. Well, we're going to do a whole party that day. It's the TLP Palooza, Playhouse Palooza. We'll have music in the afternoon, music in the evening. We'll have food and games. We'll have some specialty beers at the theater. It's just going to be a great party day, and more information will come out on that. So that's our activities for the next few weeks. And our education program will roll out here in probably another 2 weeks. We'll roll out the education program. But one of the big things that I want all of our kids to look forward to is, as part of the education program, we're going to be doing a production of The Lion King Jr. Last year we did Matilda Jr., and it was so successful and so much fun that this year we're going to do Lion King. So watch for that and get ready to come and join us all for that. Summer theater, summer shows. We have quite a stack of summer. Well, rather than me talk about it, Bill, go ahead, run that video. Oh my gosh. I get so excited seeing those shows for next summer. And look who I have next to me here. Mr.
Hey,
Tommy Ranieri, our new artistic director, the man who will be shepherding us through all of those productions. Hey, Tommy.
hey, Dan. Thank you so much for having me tonight, and hi to everybody on home. I feel like I'm on TV right now. This is so cool.
Well, you are on TV.
I know. Well, thank you so much for the very warm introduction, and of course, thanks to Bill and Mike and everybody who put this night together. I'm so great and filled with excitement to be chatting with you tonight, Dan, and to be talking to everyone at home. I know that I met some folks during volunteer night when I was in town. But I'm really excited to make my way back to TLP this summer and meet some of you, and maybe work with some folks again that I might have met last summer during 9 to 5.
Very good.
Excited.
Yeah, for sure that will happen. So I think one of the most exciting things for people to hear is what you've been up to over the past 6 weeks.
Sure. Well, I've been telling everybody that I'm like Johnny Cash because I've been everywhere. It has been a whirlwind tour across the country for our audition tour. So when I was first hired, the biggest thing that I was really looking at was going to as many markets as possible so that we could bring talent from every single corner of our country right here to Carroll County. And I'm really excited to tell you a little bit about that, and to also tell you that our first round of offers have been going out throughout the past couple days. But in regards to auditions, I'm going to lead you down the map of all the places that I've been. So a few weeks ago, I started out in New York City, where we did 2 days of auditions. One day that was centered around singers, one day that was centered around dancers, and we mixed everything in between. Then immediately after that, I flew to Chicago, where we did 2 days at Porchlight Studios in Chicago, where Dan and Bill in Sydney met us there. And we did 2 days of auditions there as well. And then I flew home that night during Super Bowl Sunday and truly watched the Super Bowl on the plane. And then landed back home, was home for 2 days, sent out a bunch of emails for callbacks and other information after seeing, gosh, what must be like 600, 700 folks already in those 4 days. I then started my college audition tour, where I went to Baldwin Wallace, which is right outside of Cleveland. And then I flew to Chicago, where Dan picked me up and then brought me over to Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, which is led by a strong TLP friend, Jay Burko. Jay will be directing the Nerd for us, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. But we saw the folks over at Western Michigan University, where a cast of their students will exclusively be the folks involved in our production of Junie B. Jones, which I'm excited to talk more about as well. Then I came back that Saturday on the 17th to TLP, where we had our local audition, where we saw so much homegrown talent, specifically young folks who were coming out for roles in The Nerd as well as The Wizard of Oz. So we saw a bunch of folks then. And then from there, I hopped on a plane again out of Chicago and flew to Buffalo to go see our longtime friend and former artistic director, Jim Beaudry, at University of Buffalo, where he runs their program now. He's been running it for the past 2 years. I auditioned the students over at Buffalo, which was great. And I got to go to Duff's for Wings, which is also fabulous. And then from there, I flew to North Carolina, where we auditioned the students over at Elon, where we've been going to for the past couple of years and have a strong relationship with. And then I came back to New York, auditioned the students at Pace University, and saw them. And now tomorrow is actually my last in-person audition of the season, where we'll be at the Actors Equity Building for a principal audition for just a couple leading roles that we want to shape out. And that will be my audition tour, which is absolutely crazy to have been going everywhere.
Yeah, that's it gets a little tiring, doesn't it?
Oh man, let me tell you, I don't remember many of my flights because I was asleep during almost all of them.
Well, I am sure glad that we had Tommy here this fall or this winter to do that. So that I think this is the first time in a couple of years that I haven't had to go out on that entire tour, and that was nice. Maybe selfish on my part. Sorry about that, but hey,
No.
you're young. You got it.
Oh, I've got so many miles and I love auditioning. There's nothing that brings me more joy. And I would say between the auditions in person and the virtual submissions, I would say that we probably saw between 3,000 and 4,000 folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. So you mentioned Junie B. Jones and Nerd and that. Tell the folks about what's coming up this summer.
Yeah, I would love to talk a little bit about the season. So we have brought back our May production. We'll be starting with Junie B. Jones, which is based on a series of books by Barbara Park for our Theater for Young Audiences production. And Junie B. Jones is a girl who just wants to do it her own way and wants to discover things in a really exciting, new, and fun way. And so we're bringing out a cast of 6 Western Michigan University students to perform that from the 7th through the 11th of May, which we're super, super excited to be doing. And it's a show that I've done many times before, and I'm really excited to be bringing that back to TLP. And then from there, to talk a little bit about the season and the folks involved. I know that you have all seen the titles before, but I'd love to tell you a little bit about the people who are going to be behind it. So we'll be starting the season off with The Nerd by Larry Shue. And so that's directed by Jay. And you may know Jay's work from last year on The Lightning Thief that he brought over from Western Michigan and has been a friend of the theater for many, many, many years. And he's a titan of the industry and has been in many Broadway productions and tours and has really been somebody that I look up to deeply. And we're really excited to have him back. And The Nerd is a really fun living room farcical comedy that has a cast of 6 folks and a young boy that turn the world upside down on a little prank that happens. Then after that, we go to Beaumont, where we cut loose with Footloose, which will be directed by Jim Beaudry for his 3rd production of Footloose at TLP. But something different this time is we're bringing in a new choreographer for Footloose, and that's Maddie Rodrigue. And some of you may know Maddie because she has been a New York City Rockette for the past 5 years. And we're really excited to have Maddie brought here. And she's someone I've worked with many, many times. And I'm excited to bring talented and kind people who I know and love out to Mount Carroll to be making theater with us. And for those of you who don't know, Footloose in the Kevin Bacon movie, it's about a town that outlaws dance and a kid who moves from Chicago and shakes everything up. Then after that, we'll be going on the SS American for a little golden age comedy with Anything Goes. Anything Goes with music written by Cole Porter. Cole Porter is one of my favorite composers of all time. I say he is the greatest lyricist and greatest love songwriter. And so when it came up and I said, I would love to direct that. So that will be my first show I'll be directing in the season. And that will be alongside Lauren Cadle, who I actually wrote and directed shows with, where she choreographed for me on cruise ships for years. I come from a background in cruise ships, where we did a brand new show on MSC Cruises just last year. And so Lauren is amazing, has a strong background with the Young Frankenstein brand, has worked on Shoes and Schroman for years. And so we're excited to be bringing Anything Goes to you, which is another golden age comedy on a cruise ship where everything goes wild and people play other people. Then after that, we'll be going over the rainbow with The Wizard of Oz. Everybody knows this timeless MGM classic with the iconography of the Yellow Brick Road and of Judy Garland and all of the beauty of the Emerald City. That will be directed and choreographed by Amy McCleary. Those of you may remember Amy from her work on Bright Star last summer. And I have to say, she created magical worlds with just 2 moving this house set piece and this front porch, if you remember it, with the turntable. She was able to make magical worlds out of those 2 pieces. And so when she said that she was interested in The Wizard of Oz, we said, oh my gosh, what a beautiful gift it would be to have her imaginative mind create worlds like this. Then after that, we're going to go with a new comedy of a movie that you may know, and also a Hasbro board game you may know, with Clue on Stage. This Sandy Rustin adaptation, also worked alongside Hunter Foster, is the retelling of the movie you know well, starring Tim Curry. And that will be directed by a dear friend of mine, Cameron King. Cameron King was the directing associate over at the Muni last summer and has also been directing over at Bay Street, all over New York City, and is somebody who I collaborate with often and is a cohort of Carnegie Mellon University's directing program, which is top in the United States. We're so excited to have Cameron directing Clue for us. And then to close out the summer subscription series, we'll be doing Frank Wildhorn's Jekyll and Hyde, which just warms my heart and makes me bubble and brew to be saying that. Jekyll and Hyde is, if you don't know the original novel, it is about a scientist who is discovering where human nature brings you and has a sort of medicine and potion that he creates that transforms himself into somebody entirely different back and forth. And this battle of internal personality is this beautiful, lustful, fabulous, fabulous score that I will be directing alongside my favorite choreography partner, Trent Soyster. Trent Soyster and I are making this a very dance-heavy piece. And Trent has staged the Escape to Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett tour, which I know is a title that we know very well here at TLP, and just got off the Pretty Woman tour, where he was doing the adaptation of that film on the road for quite some time. So that's our summer subscription series. And then after that, we'll be jumping back in for a second helping with Church Basement Ladies 2, a second helping, directed again by Courtney Krause, who we all know is a long time friend and member of the TLP family. And we're hoping to bring back as many folks as possible from that production. So hopefully you'll come and see those familiar faces in the lobby after the show.
Very good.
Yeah.
We're having a little bit of an issue with Route 66, however.
Yeah.
So I guess we can just say stay tuned. We should have an announcement out on that. What do you think, Tommy? The next week?
Yeah, within the next week. Yeah, we're looking at some complications that we have with the title right now, and we're assessing what our best moves will be. And we want to keep you abreast about that so that you know as quickly as possible, because we want to bring you really holiday-centric entertainment for this holiday season.
Very good. Hey, what other kinds of things? Talk a little bit about your experience in education programs.
Yeah, sure. So my experience in education program actually has been for quite some time. So I've been an adjunct professor at Queens College and have been a visiting teaching artist as well as New York University. But when I started at 17 years old in teaching, I ran one of the largest educational programs in New York State. And so I did that alongside one of a teacher who I worked with for many, many years, and designed a program that saw about 500 students, honestly, per 20 weeks. It was like quite insane. And so I ran and designed and sculpted that for 7 years. And during my last year, that was during the pandemic year, where I worked alongside New York State, the CDC, the YMCA for plans for reopening for camps. And I was one of the largest people who was a program director for a camp for that to reopen during the pandemic. And education is very important to me. I think that seeing the spark where a child really, really understands where the idea comes from and where the joy for performing arts and that human connection comes from is really, really important to me. I think that the idea of liveness is lost, and being with someone in the moment is a little lost. And the more that we could get children in a situation where we could do that, that would be great, which is why a big part of my initiative coming in as artistic director is really expanding our education program. Of course, we have The Lion King, and we'll have Seussical and other productions coming out later this year. But we also really want to expand classes and moments of education from every level, from tots to high schoolers with Ride the Cyclone. So we're really excited to be expanding educational program and hopefully beginning a more robust programming for you to bring your tykes over to TLP. Very good.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about a lot of other things, new things for 2025, 26 and beyond. So one of the things that we've talked about doing is starting to do, remember during COVID, we did, well, Tommy, you wouldn't remember this, but during COVID, we did this thing called TLP Live, where we would get on air about once a week and kind of just give you a little insight of what's going on at TLP. We're going to bring something like that back, probably in little shorter snippets, more like a video blog. Little insights of what goes on here. I had a lot of people ask me, how did you ever find that car for Greece? Well, I thought that'd be a great topic for one of the vlogs. And so hopefully as we get a few of these papers off the desk, we can start doing some of those fun things.
Yeah, of course. We know how much you want to see behind the curtain of what's going on here, and we want to make sure that you feel involved in the process as part of the TLP community.
Well, Tommy, thank you for taking some time out. I know that you've had a real busy schedule this week trying to balance other things that you are involved in right now, plus getting everything ready for TLP.
Oh, TLP is the priority and TLP is home. So don't worry at all. It is just most definitely staffing season and most definitely casting season. So we're really rolling this week. But it's definitely, I have never seen my inbox so crazy. I feel like Mr. Popular. So
very good. Very good. All righty. Well, Mike and William, thank you for joining us this evening. I really like when we get to the annual meeting time of the year. I enjoy the annual meeting, not just to be able to take a look. I mean, as we prepare for it in the office, we really look at what we've done and what we need to be doing. But it also kind of puts a period on 2023, and now we officially start 2024. So we hope all of you have enjoyed the evening. We hope that you are ready to come back and join us as we continue to tell great stories here at Timberlake. Tommy, thank you.
of course, thank you. And thank you to the community.
William, thank you. And so, Mike, I will leave it in your capable hands.
Thanks, Dan, Tommy, and William. I'm exhausted just listening to Tommy talk about every place he's been and what he's doing, but really makes me excited for the summer season and getting things kicked off in 2 weeks. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you to the staff, to the board of directors, and of course, all of you for your contributions and your continued support of live theater here in Northwest Illinois. So at this time, I call the meeting adjourned, and I look forward to seeing you all this summer. Thanks and have a great evening.